God, welcome. I'm Catherine, and this is Off Topic with Catherine, where stories spill over, lessons get learned, life gets messy, just like it should. Welcome back. I'm really happy to be here with you guys once again. Now, last episode, I shared a very special little coffee thrill with you guys. And this, well, at least it was a thrill for me. It was my Greek coffee. And when I finished my Greek coffee last time, I had turned it over and I explained to everybody that when we finish drinking our coffee and we tip it over, then there's a very strong possibility that we can discover what our fate is. And so this is what came out of my cup. Now, I did a little bit of research, and what research told me, because it was a long time since I did this, my dad used to do it all the time, is like this. The bottom of the cup, so whatever the bottom of the cup shows you is in the past. So, we don't care about the past. That's finished. It's gone. We don't think about that. Past is in the past, right? What's closest to the little handle here is the immediate future, which means like tonight, tomorrow, or maybe the day after. And what's on the rim of the cup is the future. I don't really care that much about the future because I'm not going to worry about that. So today we're going to concentrate what we see on the little handle of the cup. So what I read describing the little images is that if I see a lot of lines, then that means that there's success in the future. Lines. Well, I see one line, so I guess that's a good thing. I see like one line. I don't know if you guys could see. And then if I see dots, that means money. So I really kind of like looked around for many, many dots, and I saw like maybe just like one. Oh, wow. And then the next one is triangles. So if I see triangles, that means luck. And when I looked right next to my little handle, I actually see a big triangle. So I was quite happy about that. Luck. And then the following one is squares. So if I see squares, there's protection, stability, and commitment. I desperately looked for a square. And you know what, guys? I don't see any squares in my little cup. So I don't think there's much protection, stability, or commitment coming along my way anytime soon. And the last one is if I see like mountains. And if I see mountains, then what that describes is goal. You have a goal or a challenge that you're trying to overcome. And guess what? I have got many, many mountains in this cup. I mean, they're all over the place. So I guess I have a lot of challenges that I need to overcome. Oh, well, I'll figure it out. So there you go. So I'm going to use my imagination and I'm going to entertain myself a little bit in trying to figure out what my fate is, given all these wonderful descriptions that I've been told. Today, I am going to drink out of my big cup because I need a lot of Greek coffee. Stini Yamas. Originally today, I was going to continue describing my trip to Italy, talking about my trip to Italy once I landed. And I was really excited to start sharing that with you guys. But something happened a couple of days ago that has been in my mind ever since. And I really wanted to share that with you. Because I just can't, it's always in my mind. I just really can't get over it. And I'd like to know what you guys think about it too. And perhaps share your thoughts as to how you would approach this. Now, a few days ago, I was walking outside. I was walking the street, and it was really icy. There were a lot of patches of ice. There were thin patches, thicker patches. And as I'm walking, I see a woman on one of these ice patches, and she's trying to stand up. I don't know this woman, but she looked like she was struggling. She couldn't get up, and where she was next to a bus terminal, a bus pass, bus stop, not a bus pass, a bus stop. And outside the bus stop, right in front of the bus stop, there was a shelter, like a bus shelter that was all glass. So you go inside. If it's raining, if it's cold, you go and you kind of stay there till the bus comes. And in the bus shelter, there were two men, like big guys, like really, really big guys. Like, for those of you who don't know how tall I am, I'm 5 feet tall. Not 5'1", 5 feet tall. And waiting for the bus, I think there was about 3 or 4 people. There was about 2 women or 3 women and a man, I don't really remember. And the bus shelter with where the woman had fallen was just a couple of feet in distance away from each other. So I approached this woman. She seemed like she was, struggling. So I asked her, I said, ma'am, are you okay? And she says, no, no. And I said, well, can I help you up? So I was trying to help her up. I said, are you able to get up? Is something broken? I mean, naturally, I made sure that the environment was safe. You always want to do that. So it seemed like she really genuinely was just trying to get up. Now, as I'm trying to help her up, I realize that I can't do that. She's a much taller person than I am, and it's quite slippery. So I can find myself right next to her, like in a couple of seconds, because it was so slippery. Now I'm looking at the 2 men and the other people at the bus stop, and I'm sort of trying to make eye contact with them to come and help, assist. But nobody was doing anything. So I got up. I said, "Hold on, ma'am." I knocked on the window of the shelter, of the bus shelter, and I asked this man, this very big man, "Can you please come and help me? Help this woman stand up." Now there was also a bench next to the bus shelter, and I said so she could at least sit on the bench and see if she's hurt, if she needs an ambulance, if we can do something. So he seemed annoyed by me. The fact that I asked him to help, he seemed very annoyed. I said, "Please, sir, I just can't do it alone, and this woman seems like she needs help." Like, I got this like okay kind of look. Came out of the shelter. As I said, if you hold her from one hand, one arm, I'll try helping her from the other. It seemed like nothing was broken. I said, "Is anything broken?" She says, "No." As we're both trying to lift her up, he says, "Oh, she's drunk." And he just lets her go. I said, Sir, can you just help me bring her on the bench? It's cold. She doesn't have gloves. I'll help her sit on the bench, and then we'll figure it out." So he says, "Yes, but she's drunk. She's drunk." I said, "Yes, I realize that. But we can't leave her here. She's going to freeze. It was cold outside." Anyway, so he finally helps me. She goes on the bench, and of course, she had a little bit too much to drink. Clearly, that was obvious. So I asked her if there's someone we could call. She said no. I said, "Do you have a partner? Do you have children? Do you have family? Is there someone we could call?" No, no, no. And she starts to cry. And as she's sitting on the bench, I realized that she's going to fall off. She's going to fall off the bench. So I asked one of the women who was waiting for the bus, who was on her phone. I said, "Ma'am, I'm sorry. Can you just please call 911?" And she looks at me and she says, No, I have other engagements. I don't have time for this." I said, "Just call 911. I can't let her go. She's going to tip over, and I don't want her to fall on the floor, on the cement." No. Other engagements. Nobody else was even looking at us. It was just, "We're not there. If we don't look at you, we're not there." I said, "Oh my golly, I can't just leave this woman here." I said, "Do you have any gloves?" I said, "Where do you live? Can you tell me where you live?" No, no, I don't want to go home. I don't want to go home. So I said, ma'am, can I please look into your purse? Can I call the police? Can I call an ambulance? Please, no, no. I said, can I please see your wallet, see where you live, if you have any ID? So she was able to take out her wallet, and there was nothing in her wallet. The only thing she had in her wallet was actually her social insurance card, and it was taped onto her wallet. There was no credit cards, no money. There was nothing else in her wallet. So I said, oh my gosh, I can't just leave her here. So we see some cabs. There was a cab station like not far from where we were. So I asked her, I said, do you know your address? Do you know where you live? And she mumbled something. So I said, do you want to go home? Is there a way can I take you home? And she says, yes, I want to go home. I want to go home. So I help her up. She's like about 5'8", 5'9", but she was able to walk to the cab with me. I hailed down the cab. The gentleman looks at us. I said, sir, can you just like help us go in the cab? So she goes in the cab. I said, look, this is the situation. I'll go with her. Anyway, she mumbles her address, but the cab driver, he actually understood what she said. I guess he was working locally, and he understood where this place was. So I asked her, I said, is it okay if I come with you? And I just want to make sure you get home. So she says, yes, yes, come. And she's crying, she's crying. We go in the cab, 10 minutes later, we end up in this very luxurious high rise. I said, is this where you live? And she's, yeah, this is where my home is. So I said to the cab driver, hold on, I'm going to go get security. There was security at the doors. Help her go into the building, make sure she lives here, and, we'll take care of everything. He says, okay. So I go, I knock on the door because it's locked. Security comes out. He says, well, can I help you? I said, yes. I'm with this woman in a cab. She says she lives here. I don't know her. Let's call her Mary, because this woman does have a name. I do know her name. She was, we shared some information, but we'll call her Mary. So Mary tells me she lives here. I'm just somebody that was walking down the street, and she seems to not be. She's not sober. And he said, yes, yes, yes. So he came, we took care of the cab, we carried her into the building. The manager that was in front of the reception looks at both of us. What's going on? I said, well, Mary says she lives here. I'm not sure if she lives here, but this is where she says she lives. She's very overwhelmed. I said she's had a bit too much to drink. So she's very, not stable on her feet. So I said, do you know her? And she said, oh, yes, yes. She says, but she doesn't live here. Her mother lives here. So I said, oh, okay. Well, she gave us this address, so that's good. At least her mother lives here. And the lady says, yes, 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 of course. Come into my office. I just want to take down the information. So I just noted down. She noted down what I basically described to her. And I went back to make sure that Mary was okay, and I was going to leave. So I said, Mary, I'm going to go now. You're safe. Your mom is going to be down any minute, and you just take care of yourself. Now, I forgot to mention, when we got in the cab and we were going to her mom's, which we thought it was her place at the time, she was saying, please, please, can you please stop off at the store? I said, well, what do you need at the store? I just want a beer, just one beer, please. I mean, she was desperate for a drink. Heartbreaking, crying. It was literally heartbreaking. Please. I said, Mary, no, we cannot stop off for a beer, but you're going to go home now. You're going to be safe, and we'll see how we can help you. but I need a beer. Anyways, as she's crying and she's asking for beer, desperately asking for beer, she puts her head on my shoulder in the cab. Oh my golly. Anyways, now going fast forward, now we're back at the building. I just wanted to mention that as I go to say goodbye to her, she says, "I'm so scared." I said, why are you scared, Mary? "I'm so scared. I'm scared. I'm afraid of my mom." Now, Mary was about 56. I asked her, I said, "Mary, how old are you?" And she says, "I'm 56. Mary is 56 years old. And she was afraid of her mom. Now, we understand probably her mom would not be particularly thrilled to see her daughter like this. So Mary was anticipating the response that her mom would probably have when she saw her. But she asked me to stay. "Can you stay?" Now, there was the security was with her, plus the manager from the building was with her. And I said, "I could stay for a couple of minutes, but I'm going to go." And she's looking at me, but throughout the whole time, she's crying, not like, but sobbing. And she looks at me and she says, she lifts out her arms. And I said, "Mary, do you want a hug?" And she says, "Yes." And I hugged her. I just hugged her so tight. And I just felt her whole being. Now, I left. And as I'm walking back to go wherever it is I had to go, I don't even remember where I was going at that point. I shared this story with someone shortly after. And the response of this person was, "Well, why did you do that?" And I said, what do you mean, why did I do that? "Well, why did you put yourself in such a dangerous situation?" That was not a dangerous situation. It was not dangerous for me. I mean, of course, we're going to evaluate the situation, make sure that we're not putting ourselves or that person that we're trying to help in distress, or creating a bigger problem that, than already exists. And that made me think so much about humanity at that particular moment. And I started reflecting on my past and people that have helped me in many, many different ways. And many people have helped me in many ways. Some haven't, some have. And I do remember people that have helped me, especially when I needed help. Now, when I was getting the help that I needed, did people that were helping me understand my pain and my whatever I was going through? No, because they weren't me, they weren't in my body, they weren't feeling what I was feeling. But empathy took over, and that's what mattered. And this is where kindness comes in. Kindness matters because it's about helping when we can. Helping someone who needs help and not judging them. Yes, it's very possible that that same evening when Mary sobered up, that she left her mom's place and went out and got those beers that she was desperately asking me for. Yes, that's very possible. But it was not about this. It was about helping Mary, who needed help in that particular moment, whether it was for a few seconds, a few moments, or a few hours. Now, what Mary did afterwards, or she could do, or she chose to do, or she was able to do, you know? So this is my story that I want to share. It's something that I think when we try to put ourselves in the person's situation, of course, we're not going to feel or understand exactly what they are experiencing. But if we can try to be empathetic and not make it about us, but make it about them. Because when that person asked me why I did that, it's not what I did. It's the help that Mary needed at that time, whether it was for me or whether it was from anybody else. And can we change someone's life over one little incident like that? One helping hand? Maybe, and maybe not. But what I know is for those 25 minutes of Mary's life, she was okay. She was being helped. She got the help that was necessary in order for her to get off that block of ice and get to her mom's home. And that's pretty much all that had to be done. So next time we think about helping someone, it's not about how we're perceived, but it's about helping the person who needs that helping hand at that particular moment. And finishing off with this, I'd like to share some wisdom. Today's Grief Coffee wisdom. Kindness is when we can offer help to those who can never repay us and whom we never want repaying from. Now, I'm so grateful to reflect in my past, and I've had so many people help me because it's contagious. So when we help each other, this is what happens. It comes back and around, and we want to do so much more every possible way we possibly can. Now, thank you for listening to this very touching story. I hope my friend, because I did call her my friend, Mary, is finding peace in her life. I hope that one day she gets to a place where she feels good. And for all those other Marys out there, if we notice them, let's not hide behind the bus shelter, please. Now, next time, oh, those are my dogs, 2 dogs. I love them. Keep going, guys. Now, next time when we meet, I'll continue sharing my story about my wonderful trip to Italy. And until then, just remember, life's a little better when you go off topic. Thank you.